In this video lesson, we will discuss how exactly unemployment is measured, and we'll also compare the differences between stock and flow variables which are related to unemployment. Normally, unemployment is measured in two standard ways. First of all, as claimant count, and secondly, as standardized unemployment rate. What is claimant count? This is simply a number of people who are claiming unemployment-related benefits. So this statistics is very easy to collect because government knows on a weekly basis how many people have requested job seekers allowance, have applied for this particular allowance. So these statistics will be readily available on weekly basis. For example, according to these statistics, in 2017, we've had 800,000 people claiming job seekers allowance benefit, which implied an employment rate of about 2.4%. Unfortunately, this statistics is not extremely accurate because it excludes people who are unemployed but who are not eligible for this job seeker allowance or who have decided not to claim it for whatever reasons. In other words, it understates the actual unemployment in this society. And that is why it's preferable to use another measure of unemployment, which is called standardized unemployment rate. This is the measure used by International Labour Organization, and it closely matches our definition of unemployment. It includes the number of people of working age who are without work, who are available to start work within the next 2 weeks, and who are actively seeking employment. And this statistics is compiled from the National Labour Force Service. Obviously, it takes time to do this service, to run this service, to gather these statistics. That's why this statistics is available with a lag. It's usually compiled on a quarterly basis, and usually it becomes available considerably later. It's not that readily available compared to claimant count. However, it is considerably more accurate compared to this measure. However, it will exclude those people who are claiming benefits, who pretend that they are unemployed, but who are not actually actively looking for a job. It's not a secret that many people prefer to live off benefits because this is their lifestyle. They've decided that this is what would suit them. So they claim benefits, but they don't actually make an effort to find a job. It's not everyone, of course, not everyone claiming benefits. Many people will be genuinely needing help because they simply cannot find any work, any income for themselves. But there will be someone who will try to exploit these opportunities. And this standardized labor survey will exclude those people. So this measure will be much more accurate measure of unemployment in the society. However, both measures will usually move closely together during the business cycle. During the recession, both claimant count and standardized unemployment rate will increase, and in recovery, when the economy is booming, both measures of unemployment will decline. What else you need to know about unemployment is that it depends on flows into and out of unemployment. In other words, unemployment is a flow variable. Let me explain this in a little bit more details. Let's discuss the difference between stock and flow variables in macroeconomics. Let's imagine that we have a bus, just a simple bus, which you have in your homes. It's a bus which has some amount of water in it, some stock of water at a particular point of time, let's say 200 liters. It will be measured at a particular point of time, at a particular point of time. So, for example, today is 16th of November at, let's say, 2 p.m. Stock of water is 200 liters. Why do we measure it at a particular point of time? Because there might be some flows in and flows out. Let's imagine that we have a tap here with running water, which will add some water to this stock, which is already available. And there will be some inflow of water, which is measured per period of time. For example, 5 liters per minute. In other words, every single minute, this stock of water will go up by 5 liters. So every single minute, stock will change, and the stock will change due to the strength of this inflow. Apart from this, let's imagine that there is a leak from this bus, and there is some water outflow away from this bus. Water outflow, flow out, which is also measured per period, for example, 3 liters per minute. And the relationship between inflows and outflows will determine how stock of water will change in this particular bus. If the outflow is lower than inflow, for example, flow out is 3 liters per minute, while flow in is 5 liters per minute. We add more water than we remove from this bus. It implies that the stock will increase. While on another hand, if we have the opposite situation, if flow out is stronger, for example, 10 liters, very large lake per minute, then even if we add quite a lot of water to this bus, flow in is, let's say, 8 liters per minute, stock will reduce because flow out is stronger than flow in. So strictly speaking, the stock, the amount of water at a particular point of time, depends on strength of flows in and flows out. So all macroeconomic variables, in fact, can be separated or classified as flow or stock variables, and this has direct application to our topic. So let's imagine that unemployment is our bus. It's a bus or a pool with unemployed people in it. Just think about this number, this amount of unemployed people, as people who are currently in a pool, and the amount, the stock of unemployed people in a pool, so this is a stock of unemployed people, which depends on flows in and out. There will be some flows in which will add to the stock of unemployed, which will increase the unemployment rate in a country, and there will be 2 inflows to unemployment rate from jobs and from outside labor force. For example, this will include people who were made redundant, people who were sacked, who were temporarily laid off, or people resigning. So people coming from jobs, losing jobs, will join the pool, the stock of unemployed people in the country. And apart from this, there will be some people who will become unemployed, who will be joining from outside the labor force. For example, school or college leavers. When you were a student, when you were in full-time education, you were not counted as part of labor force. But as soon as you've graduated and started looking for a job, you become unemployed. So the stronger these flows in, the higher unemployment rate in a country will be. But stock of unemployed, our amount of water in a bus, our amount of unemployed people in this pool of unemployed, will also depend on strength of outflows, which are also measured per period of time. And in other words, amount of unemployment will reduce by the amount of people who are getting the jobs, who are moving away from unemployment toward jobs. So if people find new jobs or return to old jobs who were temporarily laid off, or this will include people who are moving to outside labor force. So, for example, they become disheartened, they stop searching for a job, or they have reached their retirement age and stop becoming part of labor force, or people who immigrate, or those who die, or those who decide not to work anymore and simply look after their families or live on income from their savings, for example. So as soon as people find a job or stop searching for a job, they leave the pool of unemployed people. So currently, the actual unemployment rate in the society depends on the strength of flows in and flows out. And we can reduce the unemployment rate in the society by affecting these flows. In other words, to reduce unemployment rate, we'll need to reduce inflows. We'll need to slow down the rate with which people lose jobs, for example. And to reduce unemployment rate, we can also try to affect outflows. We'll need to increase the amount of people who leave the pool of unemployed. For example, we can try to help them to find jobs. To summarize, unemployment is a stock variable which is measured at a particular point of time, for example, on a particular date. This stock variable, unemployment rate, depends on flows in and flows out, which change the amount of stock, the amount of unemployed people in the economy. Inflows and outflows are measured per period of time, and the actual unemployment rate in the economy depends on the strength, relative strength of these flows in and flows out. The more people are losing jobs, the more people are joining the amount of unemployed from outside the labor force, the higher unemployment rate will be. The more people are quitting unemployment towards jobs, the more people are finding jobs, and the more people are moving to outside the labor force, the lower unemployment rate in the economy will be. Policymakers, government, and other authorities are able to affect, to control, to reduce unemployment rate by affecting these flows in and flows out. In order to reduce unemployment rate, we'll need to reduce the rate with which people lose jobs, for example, or to increase the rate with which people can find jobs. And the government policy to reduce unemployment rate can be focused on these flows. The exam question which you might get on this topic might sound like this. Which one of the following will increase the level of unemployment? As always, stop the video, write down the answer, and continue when you are ready. Ready? Let's have a look at the answers based on the model we've just covered. More people retire. What does this mean? When people retire, this means that they stop working, they stop being economically active. In other words, they leave labor force. And because they stop being a part of labor force, they cannot be counted as unemployed. In other words, this will reduce unemployment rate. This will be related to this particular flaw. These people who retire will move to outside of labor force, which, as we know, will reduce the leakage from our pool of unemployment, from our bus with some stock of water in it. The more people leave this pool, the lower unemployment rate will be. The lower will be the amount of water which is still left in this bus. So unemployment rate will reduce. So A wouldn't be correct because we are looking for something which will increase the unemployment rate, not reduce it. Next, answer B, option B. More unemployed people become disheartened and give up looking for work. It's actually absolutely the same flaw, because when people become disheartened, they give up looking, they stop being unemployed. They won't be counted as people who are prepared and actively looking for a job. So they will reduce the unemployment rate by moving to outside of labor force as well. So unemployment rate will go down while people stop looking. So they won't be counted as unemployed anymore. Of course, this doesn't mean that they will get a job. This simply means that they stop being officially unemployed. Next, school leaving age is raised. This implies that there will be less college and school leavers joining the unemployment rate. There will be less youngsters joining the labor force. There will be lower inflow towards the pool of the unemployed people. The higher the school leaving age, the lower will be amount of students who are leaving school and joining the pool of unemployed. So this will also reduce unemployment rate by reducing the strength of this inflow. So again, it's incorrect. Next, same effect, retirement age is lowered. When retirement age is lowered, it means that people leave the labor force earlier. So instead of retiring at the age of 65, for example, they might retire at 55. So they stop being economically active at 55, which means that after 55, we stop counting them as being unemployed. So again, this will increase the strength of this flaw, and as a result, this will reduce unemployment rate. And as a result, we are left with the only possible answer, which is E. More people resign from low-paid job, and this is exactly what we have here. When people leave the jobs, they quit available vacancies, they don't have any vacancies which would suit their desires, and they become unemployed while they're searching for something which would suit them better. So the more people resign from the jobs which do not satisfy their needs, their expectations, the higher unemployment rate in a country will be.